Welcome to another video in which we're going to look at a notes receivable. This is different from accounts receivable in that notes receivable typically are for a longer period in time and they also carry interest. So let's take a look at the exercise. On March 1st, Terrell and Associates provides legal services to Whole Grain Bakery regarding some recent food poisoning complaints. Legal services totaled $11,000. In payment for the services, Whole Grain Bakery signed a 9% note requiring the payment of the face amount and interest to Terrell Associates on September 1st. So we have two parties over here. Terrell and Associates, they are the legal team. They're the lawyers that have charged $11,000 for their services. Whole Grain Bakery is the buyer of the service. Now, instead of accounts receivable, we have a notes receivable. Accounts receivable typically are 30 days, 30 to 90 days. Here they're giving, Terrell and Associates is giving Whole Grain Bakery 6 months to make the payment. They're saying September 1st, you need to make the payment. So let's look at the journal entry in the books of the buyer and the seller on March 1st and September 1st. So to start with, on March 1st, the seller, this is Terrell and Associates, their journal entry is going to be notes receivable debit and service revenue credit. So instead of accounts receivable, they're going to write notes receivable. The amount is $11,000. That's the bill that they've sent, $11,000. Now in the memo, I'm writing this information. It is due on September 1st, 2021. And I'm saying it's 9% interest. I'm keeping a note for myself over here. Now, in the books of the buyer, Whole Grain Bakery, they're going to have a similar journal entry in their books, but this is obviously a buyer, so they're the ones who need to cough up that $11,000. So in their books, they have to recognize that they owe $11,000. So they have notes payable. The lawyers have notes receivable. Wholesale Bakery has notes payable for $11,000. For one company, it's revenue. The other company, it's an expense, the opposite. Again, they are writing a note to themselves that it is due on September 1st, and they have to pay 9% interest. Now, on September 1st, the payment is being made. On September 1st, the payment is being made. So in the journal entry, you're going to have cash debit. They're receiving cash. I'm going to leave a line, and then I'm going to write, I'm not leaving line, I'm going to write notes receivable credit, and I'm going to write interest revenue. I am the one that's receiving the interest. I waited, therefore have earned that interest revenue. So what will our corresponding journal entry be over here in the books of the buyer, even before I do my calculation of numbers over here? One party is receiving cash, therefore the other party is paying cash. One party said notes receivable is taken off their books, so the other party will take notes payable off their books. So for this company, it's interest revenue. Therefore, this company is going to be interest expense. So we're looking at the two parties to the transaction. Now, the notes receivable was $11,000. Notes payable was $11,000. This is called either the amount or you call it the principal. Now I'm doing the interest calculation over here. $11,000. The interest rate is 9%. This 9% interest rate is always, unless mentioned otherwise, the interest rate is per annum. PA means per annum, which means it's for 12 months. So the calculation, 11,000 times 9%, that's for the full year. This interest is for the full year, for 12 months, because this interest rate is per annum. The note was outstanding for 6 months, March 1st through September 1st, it's 6 months. So we need to calculate that proportionate amount for those months. It's 6 months. So therefore you multiply by 6 over 12. Or you could just take half because we know it's exactly half. If it was 3 months or 5 months, it would be 5 over 12 or 3 over 12, whatever that number is. So here it's 6 months or 6 over 12. So the interest that we calculate that has to be paid by one party, received by the other party is $495. So interest revenue is $495. Here it is interest expense is $495. So how much cash did the lawyer receive? $11,495. How much cash did the wholesale bakery pay? $11,495. So in this one, the key over here is it's notes receivable, not accounts receivable. You're looking at a longer period of time and there is an interest rate. The interest rate is always per annum. Keep that in mind. Unless mentioned otherwise, the interest rate is per annum. All the exercises you do in this semester, the interest rate is per annum. Always look for this information. This is very important. When was the note made? When is it due? What's that full period? That full period that the note was outstanding was 6 months. So the interest is calculated only for 6 months. So this again is an example of a note receivable for one party and note payable for another party with interest calculations.